Hello. This video is going to demonstrate how you can use the Affinity Diagram activity. This is an excellent activity if you'd like to gather the individual inputs of a group of people to help guide the actions of that group. This is just a model, so please feel free to adapt this to fit your needs. There are some important things, and I'll try to highlight those as I go through, but there's certainly room to make this your own, so don't be afraid to do that. I think this activity is good for groups up to 50. Of course, the smaller the group, the more effective and easier it's going to be to manage it. Typically it takes about 45 minutes to work through one of these activities. So let's go ahead and get started. In my example today, I'm going to imagine I have a group of 16. This could be 16 students, this could be 16 faculty members, this could be 16 people at a business or a church or in a family. You want to divide the group into smaller groups. So you can see here I've set up 4 tables with 4 people at each table. You're going to need a guiding question. This is the most important part. This is the part in question. This is the part that you really need some input on. You could have more than one guiding question. Certainly not a problem. Each table could look at their own guiding question, but I think you're going to get the most effective input and results if you gather the input from each person on each of the questions. You're going to need a large sheet of paper to record the end results on for the whole group. Each table may also need a piece of paper to categorize and organize their results as well. Every person is going to need 5 to 6 sticky notes. The very first activity they're going to do is, and I would suggest setting a time limit for this, maybe 5 minutes, probably depends on what you're doing. You can be the judge of that. So set a time limit for them to brainstorm. They're going to do this silently and individually. They're going to brainstorm potential ideas or answers to the guiding question. Each one they brainstorm should be written on an individual sticky note. Alright, once that is complete, and you can see here in our diagram now everybody has their little sticky notes, you're going to want to categorize these sticky notes at each table. So this table will be responsible for categorizing their own sticky notes, and the same for the other 3 tables. This could be done silently or without silence. It really is up to you in that choice. One method I've used that seems to work pretty well is you let one person at the group put out one sticky note that has an idea on it, and then the other 3 people or the other members of the group would look at that sticky note and add any sticky notes they've created or ideas they've written down on sticky notes to that note. That begins to categorize and organize them. The first person could add a second note then, or you could move to the second person and let them put in their a sticky note with a different idea on it. You would do this until you've exhausted all the sticky notes. Another important part of this is you probably want to try to limit the number of categories. So make sure you tell your participants to try to group their categories as tightly as possible. Usually, ideally, 3 or 4 groups would be great. 3 or 4 categories would be great. Once the group has done this, you can see now that they may have done a box, and each square represents sticky notes with the same basic idea. You could do it in columns. Doesn't make any difference. Whatever is most comfortable for your participants works just fine. Once they've got them organized, it's important that they then create labels for each of the areas. These labels will be what's shared with the whole group. So the last step is to take each of the labels and really do kind of the same process each table group went through. You may have the first table share one of their categories, have other tables add to that. This could be done on the big piece of paper or the whiteboard at the front of the room, however it works out. Once the whole group has done it, you may find that there are more categories than you would like, or you may find that you have exactly the right number of categories. But once the whole group has done it, you've really narrowed down. There is a situation perhaps that I'd like to go into where you might have more categories than what you really anticipated. So let's say you really wanted to narrow this to 4 categories. You can use a separate tool called power voting. In this activity, each participant, once the categories are decided, each participant would be given 3 stickers, would be given a marker and instructed to make 3 dots or however it might be. But in this power voting, they get to choose where they put their stickers, their vote. Okay, so one person may choose to put all of their votes on a single category. So perhaps person A thinks that this category is most important and that's where they'd like to focus, so they're going to choose to put all 3 votes. Whereas the next participant might also choose, they might choose to split their votes among 3 categories that they really feel are important. Give everybody a chance to vote. As a result, you can see at the end you will have you'll be able to count the votes and narrow down the most important categories decided by your group. Please keep in mind that this activity is, as I mentioned earlier, just a model. Feel free to adapt it and use it to make the most of whatever the situation is in your classroom or your meeting. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.